So, Kirby's Dream Collection. If you know compilation titles by a long shot, you'll definitely know that many companies, at least the big ones, do compilation titles for their series anniversaries. And of course, Kirby has had a lot of anniversaries ever since Kirby's Dreamland first released in 1992. And while the creator of the series, HAL, has definitely celebrated every year this adorable little puffball, they didn't usually do anything big for the series anniversaries. That was until 2012, when HAL released Kirby's Dream Collection on the Nintendo Wii as a gift for the series' 20th anniversary. And looking at the calendar today, oh look, it's my channel's 1-year anniversary today! So for this special occasion, I'm taking a look at Kirby's Dream Collection for the Wii, the first major anniversary gift in the Kirby series. I mean, hey, it was this little puffball that got me started with this channel. I think it's at least time to finally give more attention to Kirby. Let's begin! Kirby's Dream Collection consists of 3 main sections you can interact with. First, you have Kirby's History, which is a small museum that houses a gigantic timeline of every Kirby game and some other related media released up to this exact point. Then you have the new challenge stages based off the same copy ability challenges from Kirby's Return to Dreamland, a game that released 1 year before this compilation. And finally, you have the main meat of the compilation, the classic titles. Let's start off with the classic titles section first. Everyone wants to know what a compilation always mainly offers, so let's check it out first. The classic titles section shows off 6 mainline titles from the Kirby series. We have Kirby's Dreamland 1, 2, and 3, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby Superstar, and Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Most of these games are all from varying different platforms, so you've always got something new to try out if one game isn't doing it for you. Of course, not everyone is going to like Dreamland 2 or 64, but hey, they're still pretty good and important enough entries in the series to deserve a spot on this collection. 4 out of the 6 games shown here play 1-to-1 to their Wii Virtual Console emulated counterparts, so there shouldn't be any major issues on the emulator side of things. The only new inclusions here are the addition of the 2 Game Boy games, background borders for every title, and of course complete Wii Remote support for every title within the collection. No more classic controller required lockup screens for some of these games. The Game Boy games here, to my knowledge, also don't have any major glitches or bugs in their emulation here, so they're perfect to play. Honestly, I'd be more surprised if it was broken, seeing as how Game Boy emulation is virtually perfect nowadays. Going back to the Virtual Console comparisons, the operational manuals here are exactly the same, both functionally and literally. There are barely any differences besides an extra buttons page here and there. Like said before, the Game Boy games are entirely new inclusions, so they also get operational manuals here too. The Game Boy games inclusions here sort of feel like an alternate timeline to me, honestly. Like, what if Nintendo decided to add Game Boy games to the Wii Shop channel via Virtual Console? I wonder what that would have been like. Now, what is my opinion on this part of the game? I think this classic titles section actually gives this compilation some good value to it. Can you get all of these games elsewhere? Yeah, you can, and that might be a deal breaker for some people, but the charm of having all 6 of these games here in one whole disc whenever you want is enough for me to give this at least the benefit of the doubt. Do I think they could have at least added a few more titles here? Sure, maybe Kirby's Block Ball and Pinball Land could have been here since Game Boy emulation is on the table here. And while I'm at it, maybe Dream Course and Avalanche could have spiced things up here for the spin-offs. But hey, I guess I might have also added fluff to this collection, and the Super Nintendo spin-offs were already on the Wii via Virtual Console, keyword were. But like I said before, this is a great selection of titles in a section that is worthy of being called classic titles. The new challenge stages portion has quite a bit of content here, like the classic titles section, only more original. The small story here is that Magolor, from the previous mainline title, aka Return to Dreamland, has built a theme park for Kirby and the gang, to make up for the trouble he caused in the last adventure. This theme park has two main attractions, copyability challenge stages and races against Magolor. If you've played the copyability stages in Return to Dreamland, you'll definitely be familiar with the concept of these stages here. Even if you haven't played the ones in Return to Dreamland, these stages are pretty easy to grasp on once you know what you're doing. What you gotta do is basically beat stages with assigned copy abilities. The stages will mainly be focused on a specific ability in mind, to test your skills and knowledge of the ability. Get platinum medals, complete the main 3 areas of the game, beat Magolor at his races with the same copy abilities, bam. That's the whole thing. Normally, I would say something along the lines of, wow, this is really short, and while it's technically true, I think it deserves to be short. It's a little section of a compilation title. Of course it's not gonna be on the same scale of Return to Dreamland. It's really just an area where you can mess around and challenge yourself to something new if you're getting tired of the classic titles. The fact that HAL even placed these into the game is honestly really cool. Now, do I think these stages should have been included in Return to Dreamland already? Half yes and half no. While yes, it would have made it better for Return to Dreamland, I think HAL knew what they were doing when they added these into the game. I also think these stages should have been preserved in Return to Dreamland Deluxe, but I guess that's a separate topic for another day. Long term, yeah, this is pretty dang good for a compilation title. It's worth the time to sink your teeth into if you're either bored of everything else or looking for something new. Speaking of everything else, now, you can't have a compilation title without a museum. Or you can, but then it's just slightly lamer. The Kirby's History section of this game is meant to show off a gigantic timeline of mostly everything Kirby related. All the way from slightly before 1992 to 2012, the year this game was released. It's honestly got a lot of content, and rightfully so since it's a museum. You get trailer-like videos for every title shown in the museum, 3D box art models you can view for every title as well. Even a few bonuses like shortcuts to the main games in this collection, a music video, and even 3 episodes of Kirby Right Back At Ya. Yeah, that's right, the Kirby anime gets a small spotlight here, which is really cool on every level. It shows that HAL really did know the franchise's history and tried to celebrate its special anniversary with propriety standards. There's also little trivia boxes for every year within this section, featuring mini facts across both the USA and Japanese versions of the game. Oh hey, Barack Obama was elected president in 2008. Neat. Honestly, if you're really bored or curious about the Kirby franchise, this section is a really cool area to check out and see some content you might have missed from the franchise. And hey, if you're really feeling spicy, you can always put on a Kirby Right Back At Ya episode whenever you're feeling for some real entertainment. You don't see this kind of effort from other compilations most of the time, and with this much dedication too. It really feels special to go through. While there's not a lot for me to talk about in this section, I think it's perfect to leave it at that. The Kirby's History section is honestly just the kind of thing you can always relax to without hesitation. Speaking about hesitation, cut content! Yeah, like every other video game on the planet, this game has cut content that was taken out of the game before release, so I'm gonna be talking about it here. The Fire copy ability was initially meant to be in the New Challenge Stages section of the game, but was cut for unknown reasons. Due to this, there are many files in the game that reference the Fire ability for this section of the game. My theory on why this was cut is most likely due to the space in the hub worlds only containing 3 copy abilities each, so having the fire ability in the game would have made it an odd number for the hub worlds, and thus was cut. Cutter, Hammer, and Stone were also shown in the game's files, but were most likely never planned for new challenge stages within the game, only serving as bases for the Smash ability. There are also a ton of regional differences between the Japanese and USA releases of the game. This was mainly in part because of the release year differences for content across both places, so it's understandable why some things were changed. But some things were strangely omitted for unknown reasons, like the AV Famicom and Super Famicom Jr. being mentioned in trivia for the Japanese release, but not the NES Top Loader and New Style SNES for its US release. The Kirby 3D special was also not mentioned in the USA version of the game, despite it appearing on the 3DS months before the game released. There were also special Kirby manga scans for the Kirby's History section of the game, and man, these are so cool! It makes me jealous we didn't get these in the States. Of course, the manga pages are not translated since they were never shown outside of Japan, but man, I don't care, I still would've liked to see these regardless. And finally, for the last bit of cut content, the game's internal project name was called Donut during its development. I think that's cute. Overall, Kirby's Dream Collection is a fantastic compilation title for the Kirby series, being great for beginners of the series and hardcore fans alike. If this is your first time going through the Kirby series, I highly recommend you check this collection out. It's a great start in my opinion, since you get the first 6 mainline titles, a small piñata of Kirby's Return to Dreamland content, and a lot of other extras within the history section. And all for the price of 1 disc out of everything? Yeah, I'd also say it's a big steal too. Like I said, fantastic compilation. I'm Nova, this has been a Kirb-tastic review of Kirby's Dream Collection for the Nintendo Wii. Happy 1st anniversary of the channel, and see you next time!